Hello. Welcome to the Comics Pals. Please do, if you're watching live, just make sure to let us know that you can hear us. No Tyler, so we are
You hadn't read the chat yet? Murphy's kidnapped him.
I
no.
see. I didn't realize that Matt was the reason why Tyler wasn't here.
Yeah. He says make highlighted messages 100 points again, and you can have him back. I say keep him. I say keep him.
Matt, I would do anything to not have to host the stream. So if that's what it'll take, you got a deal, brother.
Now I gotta figure out how to do it, right?
It seems like we're good, right? You guys can all hear us. Everything's okay. If that's the case, then we're gonna roll on. Say hello as you join us. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Harris.
Yeah.
Welcome. Okay, we're looking hot.
Looking good.
Yes, this is episode 309 of the show. Thank you guys so much for joining. We appreciate that. We do have a big announcement to make, as I teased, but I want to give just a few minutes for people to join us live who might want to, hear that before we get into it. In a couple of weeks, we are going to be at New York Comic Con.
That's a different announcement.
Yeah, that's not the main announcement.
I was like, huh? Wait.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be where?
Well, unfortunately, you won't be there, Kale. But
Oh shit!
we have had this idea. Oh, thank you, Harris, for the subscription.
What's
Appreciate
good?
that, buddy?
Thank you, Catherine, for the compliment.
That's right. It's the kind of validation we need.
Yeah, please listen. You don't even know. So we're gonna be at Comic-Con, which is always a great time. We have this idea of taking Kale along at, on an iPad or whatever.
Yeah.
Making
Stick
him
'em
like
on.
Krang,
Yeah.
the TMNT villain, or I guess what's his name from Marvel, Zola.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
Trap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did they steal that from Marvel? Or,
Probably.
Yeah. TMNT
Probably.
was like a whole riff on Daredevil, anyways, right? So
Yeah.
fair enough. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun at Comic-Con. If you will be there, we've got shirts. Marco, are you gonna have a shirt? I'm gonna have a shirt.
I'm gonna have a shirt. I can bring shirts.
Yeah, we're gonna have our Comic-Con or our Comics Pals shirts, so you will be able to tell that it's us. Run up, say hello. We move with cameras. We're very often in Artist Alley doing interviews, so if you see Marco shooting me or Tyler or whichever way it goes, feel free to come on, say hello. We'll, take a picture with you. We'll give you a fist bump, maybe a handshake, whatever.
A pleasurable head nod.
In this economy, a handshake. COVID rates going up. You're gonna get a handshake.
You get
Ooh,
monkeypox,
sir.
bro. Get that.
Oh, even worse.
Con Crud 2.0.
Oh, yeah. You know what? On the second
Be
thought,
Better be touching elbows.
yeah, it might just have to be like like an elbow deal, but with the long sleeve.
Yeah.
No
Be
skin contact.
lucky to get a nod across the room.
All right. Yeah, so that's going to be happening soon. We're really excited. We'll be sharing more information about Comic-Con as it gets a little closer. But again, that is not the announcement. You think we're ready to make the announcement without
ready.
the plane flying in the background from Marvel? Oh man. All right. So we have done many, many interviews on this show at this point. 300 and some odd episodes, 309 to be exact. And we have had a lot of great guests. I think that pound for pound, the guest that we are about to announce is at the very least the biggest comics guest we have had on the show.
Yeah, almost undoubtedly.
Who do you think is the biggest other than this one?
The only person I could say might be bigger, and it's debatable, is Tony Schiavone, because Tony's on TV every single week, and has been on TV for 30 years.
That's fair.
Probably
Yeah.
seen by more people, than Geoff. Oh,
Oh, come on, Sean.
well, that's okay, because the announcement is that we are having our biggest guest ever, and it is none other than Geoff Johns.
Geoff motherfucking John.
Geoff motherfucking Johns is coming on to the Comics Pals. Replacing Marco next Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern, live on Twitch, twitch.tv/thecomicspals.
Come through.
If that announcement doesn't mean anything to you, let me explain. Geoff Johns is the man who revitalized The Flash for DC, revitalized Green Lantern for DC, had what I believe, Kale, correct me if I'm wrong, is a celebrated run on Superman. Is that not correct? Action Comics?
No,
No?
it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be Superman. No,
I know he had a run.
he did have a run, and I think it's good, but I don't know if it's celebrated.
Blackest Night,
Yep.
that's a big deal. Worked on several of the DC film properties in an executive producer role. I believe he either wrote a draft or consulted on the script for Green Lantern. He had some part to play in that.
Yeah.
So his fingerprints are all over the last 20 years of DC in general. And we're going to be able to pick his brain about that stuff. But we're also going to talk about Junkyard Joe, which is the new Geoff Johns book with Gary Frank, and Geiger, which Junkyard Joe is sort of a spinoff of. So we will have that interview coming for you guys next week. Show up. With your questions.
Tell your friends to show up.
Yeah. Tell your friends, tell your family. If you have questions for Geoff Johns, we will take them at some point. If you have comments for Geoff Johns, we will take them at some point.
We are going to ask hard-hitting questions like, what was it like fielding a call from a young Phil Casey? How do you feel about starting his career?
I think that other than a Grant interview, this is the one that Phil would most regret missing.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am over the moon excited. This is huge.
Especially reading Blackest Night for the book club and going through that again. I went, oh man, it's like it's going back, and it's just like it's like remembering a really good meal. And the first time you had that meal, no matter how you go back to it, it's not quite the same as when you did it the first time, but you're just like, oh, this was so good.
Yeah, man. I have this omnibus for the Green Lantern run, and I have not read that stuff. So I read Blackest Night, and I think I might have read like the Green Lantern, the war with the Yellow Lanterns. That was
Sinestro Corps War.
Sinestro Corps War. Thank you. Yes, but I never read anything before that ever. Green Lantern. So I'm gonna dive in. That way, when we get to this interview, I look like I've been reading fucking Geoff Johns for 20 years.
Day one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't read The Flash either. I want to do that. No?
No, his Flash stuff, it's older and it's a bit more sort of boots to the ground comic writer stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas this Green Lantern stuff is like, you can tell from like day one, he's building up to Blackest Night. And,
right.
I guess what came after, but like Green Lantern is like, that was his project.
Yeah. Maybe I had said this to someone the other day, and I kind of stand by it. A top 3 DC creator.
Easy.
Right, yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And that's what he's known for too. It's like, it's not, he has done Marvel work, but it's like it's not a ton.
Or
Right.
has he?
I don't know of any
Bits and
personally.
bits and pieces here and there. I think he did a a story arc of something. Could have been Avengers.
Looks like it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's probably good.
And then I feel like he did a Spider-Man in one of the anniversary issues or something. An annual maybe. But like, yeah, known for his DC work.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait. I hope you guys decide to join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it'll be a lot more fun and a lot better if we do have, listener questions and stuff like that. I'm sure Geoff will appreciate it. We'll appreciate it. So save the date, as they say, because that is what is in our future.
And we'll be blasting this on socials and stuff. So for sure, come through.
Yeah. If you want to stay up to date with us in general, and if you want to support your boys, the best way to do that is patreon.com/thecomicspals, where for as little as $3 a month, you can give us a helping hand and get our newsletter. Kale put out his newsletter this week. We have the After Dark show, our Patreon exclusive show, Palling Around. We have all sorts of cool stuff. One of the coolest things is that you can get a superhero or supervillain nickname and get your name shouted out on the air like these beautiful people. Thank you to Thunderstruck Rebecca Alejandro, the Night Stalker Harris Najinski, Brian Demolisher Del Pozo, who is doing really well health-wise. So happy to hear that, Brian. Random Rocio, Kefis the Incorruptible, The Great Destroyer Hyper Viper 89, Momentum Mike Elliott, Starcross Catherine Stars, and The Ultimate Fighter Snake of Talons. Thank you all so much. We appreciate your support, as always. Twitch.tv/thecomicspals every single Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern for this show. 6 p.m. Thursdays Eastern for Pals Pulls. This week we reviewed 5 different books, 2 listener submissions.
Yeah, you guys went in.
Yeah, Exterminators, which was nuts and very good, and Bloodshot, our first Valiant book, which I really enjoyed. And Tyler seemed to dig it too. If you want to submit a listener pick to us, choose any comment box anywhere that we'll see it, and that counts. And if we want to do it, we'll do it. If you can get other people to vote for your pick, 2, 3, 4 is better than 1.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
grease those palms.
Yeah. Yup.
Hey, quick Comic-Con question. Will you guys be there the whole weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Friday,
yep.
Thursday to Sunday.
Yep. Yeah. Oof. Thursday to. Yep. Exactly.
Remember
The
that
entire
grind?
weekend. No. Oh, I remember it. My feet can feel it already.
I know, right? The last Comic-Con, I took an Uber to Outback Steakhouse because my girlfriend and I were just too in shambles to do anything else. And I remember there was a point during the con where I was sitting in a corner on one of the walls. I think it was after the Nicholas Draper Ivy interview, and I was just taxed because I believe that was on Sunday. It was the last day. I was taxed. I just couldn't do it anymore. But we continued on that day. But I needed that Outback Steakhouse steak. But I couldn't physically walk there, and I couldn't get to the train. So we took a lift, and we took a lift home.
Yep.
It's too
Couldn't
much.
walk after an Outback Steakhouse either.
Yeah.
Oh, even worse. Yeah.
That
No
blooming
way.
onion, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of cool stuff cooking. YouTube.com/thecomicspals. Head on over there. Hit that subscribe button. It's free to do. Helps us out a lot more than it costs you. We've got some listener comments this week. So, Kale, why don't you take it away?
All right. This one is from Dan Trudeau on episode 308. Dan says, while The Winter Soldier was very influenced by paranoid spy thrillers, it was still an action movie that ended with a bombastic superhero battle. I'd love it if Secret Invasion leaned even harder into the intrigue, but I share Kale's reservations. Almost like Kale's right. The trailer looks promising, but I'll be pleasantly surprised if it's the type of show I want it to be. Also, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one who didn't love Rogue One. Overall, I'm just not excited about the multiverse storyline for the MCU. I don't trust them to adapt the Hickman Avengers run as it doesn't fit into the MCU mold.
I wanted to address the last point on that one because I think after we read for the Thor book club, the God Butcher stuff, I had that same exact feeling about how that MCU style and the mold and some of that lightheartedness doesn't mesh as well with what I expected to come out of the book or that adaptation from book to screen. But I think the way that I've been thinking about some of these is under that understanding that it's not going to be a direct translation. Some of the grittier pieces, some of the more, I guess, apologies for the play in the back. Some of the better like ideas that get discussed throughout the series and stuff that has weight and value. While those things might not necessarily be there, I think the MCU is capable of creating an entertaining movie in the context of how they are telling the story. And so while it's not going to be the same exact thing with the same level of nuance, I do think that I have fun with the films. And I was while I wasn't totally in love with Love and Thunder, I had a good time. And I think that to me was the more important lesson coming out of it is whatever adaptation they're doing next, I'm going to go in with the understanding that one, we're probably going to do a book club about it and read it and get that context. But two, I think also you have to go in with that, for me, without that expectation, because then otherwise you're kind of setting yourself up to be disappointed. And I don't think that's the best way to go into a movie, let alone a Marvel film.
So I agree. I found myself, and this is not rare because Dan Trudeau is very often on target. I agree with every single thing that he said. And I agree with every single thing you said too. In that, when you go into these movies, I learned the lesson around Iron Man 3, where it's like, I can no longer go into these movies expecting them to do what the comics would do or what the comics have done, because it just leads to like being a pain point for me. Civil War is my favorite, event story of all time, and the movie version, it does its own thing, but it's not as good as the comic, and I don't think that it hits any point that it's trying to make as hard as the comic is able to. Despite whatever criticisms you might lay at the feet of the comic, I think it makes the point it's trying to make. And it does so in a way that you feel. Whereas I think the movie is more focused on, the action and some of that other stuff. I have stopped caring as much over the last year about the Marvel movies. And I don't any longer believe that the Multiverse saga, which is, handled so brilliantly by Hickman, that it's going to land. Not because it won't be what the comic was, but because I just don't think that they can do it the way that it needs to be done. You're talking about a movie that spans the entire multiverse. There are so many characters that are yet to be introduced. So many characters they still don't have the rights to. It's really likely that there will be no X-Men participation. At this point, I have no belief at all that the X-Men will be in that film. At least not as maybe, we'll see a claw pop or something like that, but not in a major role by any means. And even down to the directors that we know of, not having the Russos involved for me is a big L, because they actually give a damn about that story. So I feel like they would bring the care that it needs. Movies aren't out yet. Obviously, withholding judgment. I will be excited for them when it's time to be. But right now, I don't have that confidence that I normally would. It's not because they didn't adapt Thor: Love and Thunder correctly. It's because I just don't think it's a good movie. And there's been a string of movies that I haven't enjoyed, to the degree that I normally would. So I'm not feeling good about the MCU right now. Kale, did you want to respond to that before we hit his other point? Or
No, nothing's changed for me. I think as far as like the multiverse stuff goes, I don't think as long as we've spent with the MCU, I don't think there's enough there for anyone to even start thinking about a multiverse. We've got What If, and that is a taste of it. But even like the CW DC stuff did Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I think the reason that was quote unquote successful as it could be, is because they, were able to build on one iconography. You have Superman. Okay, cool. You've got another Superman who is Superman. So you kind of get the picture. Oh, but this one looks a little different. So there must be something else. Cool. We'll explain that. Oh, finally, Batman. Oh, he's in a cast. What's the deal with that? We can explain that. I don't think Marvel, at least the MCU, has as much recognizable iconography to build off of.
That's an interesting point. I think that I get what you're putting down, and the way I interpret what you're saying is like, not only is Superman arguably the most recognizable superhero on Earth, but there have been a few renditions of that character, and they leveraged that for the show. I believe they did a similar thing with Batman. I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
The other critical factor is that your expectations for something like that are not as high because it's not a movie. It's a TV show. So the fact, like, I was shocked when I saw that they were bringing in the multiple versions of Superman that have existed. I thought that shit was crazy. If they did that in a movie, that would be phenomenal. They did it on a TV show. That's cool as shit.
I think that's also why No Way Home was successful, is because similar to Superman, Spider-Man is another,
top three
top three icon. Just he's number 3 next to Batman, Superman, and then Mickey Mouse. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Any commentary about Secret Invasion, Sean?
Yes, I did want to respond to that. So first of all, I love what you said about Winter Soldier, Dan, because when you said it, I was like, yeah, that is true. I think people have talked about the political spy thriller element of Winter Soldier and kind of trumped it up as being a little bit more a part of the movie than it actually is. I think they use it for sure, and they use it effectively. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the movie, but it's an action movie. And there's nothing wrong with action movies at all, but it's not like watching The Manchurian Candidate or whatever, right? Like it's come on. And I think people heard Marvel say that, and they took it and ran with it. I don't think it's Marvel that has inaccurately, sort of sounded the drum beat for that movie being being a political spy thriller. I think that people heard that and they took that all the way, and it's like, all right, pump the brakes a little bit. Yes, Kefis, we are interviewing Geoff Johns, and we are super excited. Hopefully, you will be able to be there, and if you've got questions, we definitely want them. As far as Secret Invasion goes, I think it looks awesome. I am excited. This started as a thing that I wasn't excited about because I felt like that was too big for a TV show. But based on what we saw, based on the reports of kind of the vibe of the show, I'm getting hyped. I'm getting hyped. It might be a mistake.
Yep. You're going to regret it.
I might.
No, I think it'll be good. It feels like it has the energy to carry, for me, the excitement and like actually put it. The as much as I was excited for when the trailers are coming out for Miss Marvel, that's sort of what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that kind of same. Oh, this looks like it's being done and shot and produced well, and I'm excited for that. If I can get a well produced Marvel TV show, then I'm more confident in that the writing is probably going to be good.
Sure. And that's another reason why I'm not as excited about the multiverse saga. Like, the hell are you doing Secret Invasion for right now? Is that what we should be focusing on? Like, I thought the focus was the multiverse. Why blow
Well,
that
and
off?
and we've sort of talked about this before, but it's like, why isn't Secret Invasion its own bigger
Saga.
thing?
Yeah.
Like that could be its own saga. Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine at the end of the movie seeing the scroll Electra or whatever? Like that would be as huge as everybody seeing it, when we first saw it in the comic books.
My hope, Kale, is that what's happening is that they're seeding the Kree Skrull War. That is my hope.
I That makes sense. We could see some of that in the Marvels. Yeah.
Yep. Because Captain
Right.
Marvel dealt with stuff between those two. Secret
Yeah.
Invasion will hit that. The Marvels will hit it. That's my hope.
Could be.
Fingers crossed.
I could see a Captain Marvel 3 potentially having that tag to it, which sucks, but I could see that.
But that's kind of how they do things now. Yeah. All right. Let's quit talking about that garbage. Let's talk about Pals polls. Desmond Jones commented on the AXE Judgment Day #5 review. Desmond says, "This event lost me when it stopped being a war between the Eternals and the mutants. There was so much potential there. X-Men Red is actually the highlight of the whole event with Storm and Arakko. Oddly enough, Legion of X will show us what happened between David and Uranos this far along in the story."
So, for a little bit of context, David is Legion,
Legion. Yeah.
yes, and Legion helped prevent the eradication of mutants on Arakko, and is facing off with Uranos. We did the review on Pals Pools. Go check it out. AXE Judgment Day, unfortunately, isn't wowing us anymore.
Losing us.
Yeah, I don't know that it ever really wowed me. Thought the first issue or two were good, but it's kind of fallen off a cliff. This was the first Marvel event in a while that I let myself invest in, and I just wish I hadn't.
This was frustrating for me because I really started to enjoy the Eternals and what was being done there. I thought that was all excellent, and I guess I succumbed to the hope and expectation that, well, they're going to make an event out of this, which has been so good, and they're going to bring in other characters, and I'm going to have fun with that. And then it turned out to be something that was not what I feel like was promised at the end of the day. Because to Desmond's point here, like it stopped becoming this battle between these factions, right? The Avengers are kind of just there, present. So the versus thing just never really happened, and now I'm just mad that the Eternals run stopped at issue 12, because that was good shit. I want more of that, and it's cutting in between the good comics that I want to read.
Marco's getting all sorts of superhero comics lessons. Oh, your favorite characters and storylines are getting wrapped up in an event. Oh, sweet summer child.
I don't like it.
Yeah, welcome to it.
That's that mid to late 2000s feel where, like, hey, you really love I don't know, She-Hulk and the hijinks that are going on? Well, get ready for her to be the lawyer of Speedball, who is a murderer of children, who now she has to represent, and now her book is radically different. Hope you like it. That was actually pretty good, but I'm just, that's just a random example.
Was that with Penance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Desmond.
Justin asks, on that same topic. He says, "Wait, didn't Wolverine respawn with his adamantium?" Fucking probably.
So thank you, Hyper Viper, for that question. Yeah, he definitely did, and I think that's dumb too. But check it out. At the very least, Wolverine's adamantium is
right.
a part of his body, right? Like,
Yeah.
At least we have that factor. Frankly, I think.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
well, and to back that up, like that would be in Professor X's like mental log of who Wolverine is, right?
Yeah, and you can like make it make sense in your brain.
Yeah.
Sure.
But Captain America's shield? Is there even enough space in that fucking cocoon? Why doesn't Cyclops ever spawn with his visor? Like, at the end of the day, the answer is comics. But, you know, I personally don't love it when a moment doesn't have logic in it. Like, I would love for it to be... Like, it was a cool-ass visual, don't get me wrong. But my first reaction wasn't, wow, that's cool as shit. My first reaction was, what the hell? Like, that, you know, not to be a stick in the mud, but that was my genuine reaction.
Yeah.
Why not just have him born with the shield in his hand and he just explodes out of his mother, you know?
Oh my God.
Shield coming straight out of utero.
Oh, God.
Well, it was, right? Him, that, and the American flag alongside like a baby eagle.
Yeah, of course.
There are some other implications with that, too. Like, could you just like resurrect someone with like $1 million? Could you, like, what's the limitation on that power set?
Right? Yeah. Because technically the adamantium is not organic, nor was he like attached to it. It was placed on top of him after the fact. So I always expect him to come out with bone shit, but he doesn't. So
that would have been cool as shit. I wish Hickman went there.
Yeah.
Only bone Wolverine?
Yeah. And
got
for the
cool,
Krakoan era, that would have been hot.
Oh, okay. Actually, yeah. All natural.
Yeah. Yeah, it's comics.
It's comics, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to do one more because Nihilus had a comment on Pals Pulls on the Discord. I forgot to include it in the notes. Great review this week, pals. Thanks for reading my pick. Nihilus's pick was Bloodshot. He continues on to say, and Sean's soapbox, go pick up 20th Century Men by Dennis Camp. The first issue blew my mind. Cool. Yeah, you're welcome. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and hopefully that's not the last Valiant book that we do.
It will be.
Oh, all right.
All right.
Oh, and then Link had a question. Apparently they performed that number from Rogers the Musical from the Hawkeye show live at D23. So my question is, without taking any bets, why without taking any bets? When is the first real life MCU musical coming, and will you go see it?
Yes. Hard yes. For what series though?
Like, it'd have to be an Avengers associated one, right? Like, how else would you pull that off?
Is there like a musical villain?
Not who's the Spider-Man one? The Hypno Hustler.
Oh my God. Listen,
What?
that is not any place they can go.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like the Music Meister where it sort of makes sense, but it's the only like musical themed villain I can think of.
I could see them doing the Infinity Saga portions of that as a musical reinterpretation.
Ugh.
Venom 3.
Oh, wow. That made me feel bad. Like, I feel like you attacked me psychically by saying that. Holy shit.
Might as well have said Morbius 5.
Oh, dude, I was at my friend's house. Morbius came out on Netflix, and my friend had that movie on. So I saw, like, maybe, like, half of it. And the last half of it.
Yeah.
And that shit fucking sucks.
All
I
in
am
the dark.
here to tell you now. Morbius sucks.
It was rough.
Damn. And we were going to do that. We were going to do that as a community event. We still can. We should plan it.
We probably will. Yeah.
We'll
But-
need to.
Damn, that movie was bad.
The entire like last scene of just it being in pure darkness, like shitty CGI. the whole situation.
And what was up with that dude dancing?
Yeah. What's his name? I forget the actor, but yeah,
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith.
No.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an abomination.
Incredible. No, that was Morbius.
Kale, I'm done with you professionally.
Okay.
Thank you so much to all the listeners who commented. We appreciate it. Send your listener picks in for Pals Pulls. Try to get them in, as early as you can. And we'll let you guys know. Well, we won't let you know what we choose. You'll come and find out. All right. Yeah. We've got news to deal with. We've got some news to talk about. First up, and I'm so glad Kefis is here, because the first bit of news we're going to be talking about, is Fantastic Four news. So while we don't have casting yet, we do have the writing team for the Fantastic Four film. So Marvel has picked up Geoff Kaplan and Ian Springer. They worked on a film called Disaster Wedding. They're going to team up to write this one. Now, Geoff Kaplan, does that name ring any bells for you guys?
It is familiar, yeah.
Kaplan, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have seen that name before.
Spelled with a K?
Yes.
Yeah, Kaplan.
Yeah. The interesting part, though, about this news, because, ultimately, how much do we care who's writing the thing? The most interesting part of this news is that apparently, according to Deadline, Marvel is casting the film while it's being written.
Huh. Okay.
So they're casting right now. That's why D23's announcement was simply, hey, here's the director. Because they don't have anything else to announce yet. Which, for a movie that's supposed to come out in 2024, for there to be no casting at all, and the writers still being, just hired, and maybe they weren't literally just hired, but, recently hired, I would imagine, that's a tight timeline, wouldn't you say?
I think it's so two thoughts. One, wouldn't you want the script to be done so that you can also know how you feel like the character should be brought to life before going off to casting? I feel like to have it being written out, and they still need to find like the people that they want to represent the characters, that might be tough to do without that. And yeah, that being a super tight timeline, we're going to be, what is it? It's already September. Dude, we got 3 months left, and it's 2023. Like, there's no way that they're gonna make. I don't think they're gonna make 2024. That seems way too close.
Oh, they're gonna make 2024 because Kevin Feige, he don't let me down. Kevin Feige will make sure that I win this bet. He'll make sure that Kefis has to purchase an omnibus for me. Quite frankly, I think Kefis should buy it now because it's a done deal. This is over. This is, it's done.
Also, Geoff Kaplan, video game designer for World of Warcraft and lead director on Overwatch.
That has to be a different Geoff Kaplan because that's what I know Geoff Kaplan from.
Yeah, that's what was ringing around in my head too, because I'm looking at his credits and it's this guy, and he has like nothing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's yeah. I don't think Marvel cares. I think they'll pay whoever to do whatever, and they'll get what they want. And at this point, they'll get the billions of dollars they're looking for.
To your point, Marco, about like casting while scripting, I think that matters a lot more in an environment where it's not necessarily an IP film or product, the character that they're portraying generally matters more than who the actor is. I think there are rare exceptions to that. Like, I think they had to get the casting right for X-Men. They had to get it right for Iron Man. You know, certain things like that. By and large, I think the MCU's casting is pretty good. But I don't think that the writer for a Fantastic Four movie needs to know who's playing Reed Richards to know how to write it, because they know what they want Reed to be. The actor has to conform to the script, not the other way around. I would imagine for this. Also worth pointing out that if they are the first screenwriters to be hired, then we probably don't see their exact rendition of the film. A lot of times scripts go through rewrites. They don't necessarily use the first script that's written, and they don't necessarily use the first screenwriters that are hired. So,
and even so, like, even if they're attached to the end, like, there'll be tons of people who come on to punch it up, to add different, sci-fi elements to it or whatever.
Some of this shit gets rewritten on set. Like, maybe the Thing actor is really a funny guy, so they can lean more into his comedy, and they do that on the fly. Generally, I think of scripts as a baseline, and I think that's kind of how that goes in Hollywood, unless it's a very certain kind of movie. Kefis says, "Man, this bit is becoming as recurring as we're watching. Yeah, man, we've got content on this bit alone for the next 2 years. What's up?" And when I get that omnibus, you better believe that shit's going to be on Front Street. I'm going to have it. I'm going to show it on screen. I'm going to have that shit plastered up behind. I'm not even going to read it. It's going to be a trophy. Catherine says, do you think it will actually be a well-done FF movie? Yes, I do. Compared to what we already have seen, I think that Marvel has to achieve success with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Good is subjective when it comes to the MCU, because I am willing to give these movies more grace given the fact that I love the characters. I think all the Spider-Man movies from the MCU are awesome. Kale disagrees. I think the casting was awesome. Kale disagrees. Who's right? I don't know. But for an MCU fan, I think they generally hit the nail on the head with this stuff. Therefore, I do believe the movie will be good. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I think specifically because they have to correct an already mired property. You need to do something and knock it out of the park. So I think they have everybody working on this thing to be like, this is the mandate. We have to make it fun, entertaining, a movie that plugs in well to the rest of the MCU. And there's a lot hanging on it, so you can't fuck it up. You can't fuck this one up.
Yeah.
But man, this is gonna make these guys careers, because like I said, they have done nothing.
Yeah.
And like, where did they find them?
Well, we have a little bit of additional scripting news. Just a quick tidbit. Apparently, Kang Dynasty is about to be written now, and they found their screenwriter, Geoff Loveness. Now, this one I have information about. Geoff Loveness wrote Rick and Morty. A lot of Rick and Morty.
Okay.
All right.
Now, also, he wrote the 89th Academy Awards.
Wow.
Okay.
And 200 plus episodes of Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, wow.
So make that make sense.
Oh, he's the writer of Quantumania too.
There you go.
All the jokes everybody hates Marvel for is gonna be on Front Street in Kang Dynasty.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel confirmed part of the MC of the Marvel comics, right? He's been in the books.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's gonna make a cameo here.
Also, real quick, I thought we could celebrate together. Fantastic Four will not be delayed, but here are 2 movies that were delayed that I'm really happy about, and I hope they're delayed into infinity and beyond. Craven was delayed from January 13th, 2023. We were about to be hit with that fucking film somehow.
That's when fucking Morbius came out. Was January.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
This year. And so guess what? It was delayed. This is the best news ever.
No. Oh my god.
What?
Remember they delayed Morbius because they didn't want to
Spider-Man.
step on Spider-Man's toes.
As if
forgot.
they re-released Morbius, it did worse. Like,
Yep.
it did
That's right.
it did shit. So Craven was delayed from January 13th, 2023 to October 6th, 2023. Which,
Fuck.
how could that movie be coming out? It's still filming.
What do we know about it?
Nothing. There's no I mean, we know who's in it, I guess, but there's nothing. It's nothingness. And then Madam Web is delayed from October 6th, 2023, which is the new Craven date, to February 16th, 2024.
What? Not Madam Web.
Yeah, Madam Web. Thank God.
Oh, no.
Good. You know what? Good. Because they need to figure out what the fuck they're doing with that movie.
I don't think that movie hits its new release date.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
no,
I don't see how.
So this one won't, but somehow Fantastic Four will.
Yeah, fantastic because Sony, right? Listen, I know a lot about Sony. Sony is nothing if not incompetent. That's just what they do. They do
fair
bullshit.
Yeah.
They announced a Madam Web movie. That shit ain't coming out on time.
Marvel's got a machine now. Like they can fart out these movies and they'll be at least watchable. You know, Black Widow's not great, but it was watchable.
Sure. They have the entire visual effects industry on tap. They're working them like slaves. They will put out anything on time because if they have to, they'll strap them to a chair and Kevin Feige himself, he'll multiply himself. LMDs, put a gun to their head. Finish this fucking visual effect. Now, we need this movie. It doesn't matter how it looks. Look at She-Hulk. Just get it done. And that was just a joke. I'm not. She-Hulk looks fine. And Kevin Feige doesn't put guns to people's heads. But you get the point.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah, Catherine, I think Fantastic Four will be fine. I have no concerns at all. It would take a trailer being shit to make me concerned.
Yeah.
But moving on from Marvel, we've got some Harley Quinn news. So Harley Quinn is turning the ripe old age of 30. And
It's crazy.
I know, right? And so DC Comics is planning a big party for everybody's favorite costumed clown. No longer the Joker. Now we love Harley.
Yeah.
So
Better trade.
yeah, she's getting a new creative team in March. That'll be kicking off in Harley Quinn 28, and it's a pretty good team. Teenie Howard and Sweeney Boo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. The image that we have up on the stream, if you are watching us on video, is promo image from this new run. It's
Wow.
Harley squatting, cards falling all over her, tongue out. She looks pretty cool. I'm excited for this. And the reason why is because Teenie Howard has been doing some really good stuff over on Catwoman.
I've heard a lot of good things about Teenie Howard. I wasn't crazy about the business X-Men or whatever.
Yeah.
X-Corp.
But everything else seems to be going really well.
Yeah, heard good things. The Sweeney Boo is a very different style from what we had because Riley Rosmo has been on art with Stephanie Phillips. I don't know if that's maintained throughout the rest of the run, but definitely a different flavor. Pretty cool.
That's not the only thing DC's doing to celebrate. We're also going to have some celebration at New York Comic Con. Yeah, there's gonna be a pop up, set up outside of the Javits Center. There's gonna be free Harley Quinn comics. There's gonna be swag, various swag, breakfast, cupcakes. So maybe we'll have to refresh at the Harley Quinn pop up, Marco.
Yo, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Get some muffins.
Can you imagine all the cosplay?
Actually, yes, I can. I know exactly. Yep.
Just be a normal Comic-Con, really, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would. I just mean all that centralized Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I will spend much of my time there.
Refueling on muffins.
Yeah. Well, I don't even eat muffins, dude. And I don't eat breakfast, but I will be there, in solidarity with you.
Sure.
Yeah. Every chance I have. 30 years of Harley Quinn.
Wild.
Is Harley Quinn, I have not thought this out. So, is Harley Quinn the most successful character of the last 30 years?
Huh.
Who exists, like, not counting anyone like Spider-Man, Superman, who's been created in that time frame.
Probably.
Miles Morales.
I think the thing with Harley though is she has staying power, and she's proven that she has staying power. Whereas Miles is, a good character in his own right, carried a bit by the Spider-Man name. And I say this still as a fan of Miles, but he's a bit of a Spider-Man ripoff,
Right.
and they're kind of shoving him down our throats. I like it, but
I think your point on it being like the staying power, it doesn't feel like they prioritize Miles as much a lot of the time. Whereas with Harley, you get her own series. She pops up in other books. She's been in the Poison Ivy book. Like there's a lot of more exposure with her versus Miles. And then the only other one I could think of, but I don't think it counts. I don't think it has the same like mass appeal or volume there. Was Kamala Khan.
Mm-hmm. She was the other one I thought of, and I think when it comes to, I think those two characters are just a little too young yet. I think people who are growing up now, Kamala and Miles will be heroes that they stand up for, and as those characters grow, their audience will as well. And whenever it happens that we see a Miles Morales film with a live action, rendition and an actual actor physically playing that role, I think we'll see an explosion. But I don't know that in our lifetime, at least, there will be a time where the popularity of Miles stands in the same stratosphere as Peter's Spider-Man. Whereas Harley has certainly not eclipsed the Joker, but Harley Quinn, she's her own thing. Like the big three, quite frankly, at DC is Superman, Batman, Harley. It's not Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and it's not Joker either.
Or Aquaman.
No, hell no. And Geoff says Miles doesn't have any movies. Spider-Verse, I guess you could say, is a Miles movie, but it's also a lot of other people. And Miles would have to have a movie where he stands on his own and it, does, big numbers and stuff like that. And I think that time will come. It's just not right now.
I think, too, that it's, as good as it is, like, there's an element of it that's probably looked down on because it's animated.
I know that's where I come from, unfortunately. Not that that's right, but that's you are right.
Does Spawn count?
Interesting.
Spawn counts, but I don't think that Spawn has anywhere near the cachet beyond Spawn fans that Harley does. I don't think Spawn is as recognizable as Harley is. Spawn had one movie that, people generally agree isn't good. And after that, kind of vanished from mainstream media. So I don't think that Spawn can quite be in that conversation. From a comic standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, you're more likely to be a Spawn fan who likes Harley Quinn than you are to be a Harley Quinn fan who likes Spawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, Keffa. Spider-Verse definitely is a thing, but,
You big dummy.
well,
It's very good.
so
Can't wait
yeah,
for number 2.
Harley Quinn getting her due. I like it. I like it. I want to see. I want to see the films do. I want to see the films do Harley justice, but I think I'm tired of the version which we've been seeing. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I want to see them do her justice, but I'm tired of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
You'd rather the Harley Quinn costume and that kind of character?
It's never been done, in the films, so that'd be interesting. I don't know how you do that and keep her away from the Joker.
Yeah.
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 So, we'll see. But Harley Quinn turning 30, Dirty 30, which is very appropriate for that character. Miles Morales is getting a new number 1 and a new creative team and returning to the classic costume. I think a lot of people didn't like the more recent costume. It didn't feel right. That initial Sarah Pacelli costume is, quite frankly, I think she nailed it in one. It's iconic, and I think that is the Miles costume. Obviously, Peter Parker changes costumes like I change underwear, but he always ends
up back at the old one.
Yeah. This news about the new Miles Morales number 1 kind of flew under the radar, but it's a new creative team. Cody Ziegler doing the writing, and Federico Vincenti on art. Now, Cody Ziegler, if that name is unfamiliar to you, he did the Marvel voices for Black people. The one that they put out a few months ago. I didn't know how else to say that, quite frankly. I guess I could have said
that guy.
I guess I could have
for
said
all the Black people at Marvel.
I could have said African American, but like that feels weird coming out of my mouth for some reason. So I just,
He was like the sole writer, right?
Well, he wasn't the sole one, but it felt like he was because every other story was written by him.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is tough. It's tough because there's nothing wrong with Cody Ziegler. I thought that Cody Ziegler did well in the Marvel voices. The problem is that this is going in the opposite direction of what I was hoping for Miles. I really wanted them to announce a creative team that would bring people to the book without necessarily them having to care about Miles. That's the trick. Black Panther was not a character that sold comics prior to the Ta-Nehisi Coates run. And now there hasn't been a Black Panther. There hasn't been a time where there wasn't a Black Panther something on the stand since then. Because they did it the right way. Yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates is black. That's what you want. That's what you hope for. But if Ta-Nehisi Coates wasn't Ta-Nehisi Coates, Black Panther comics have a tougher road. He set the stage. That's what they have to do. And if they can't get him, and they can't get John Ridley, well, who the hell else do you get? Priest? You can't keep going back to that well. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It is the... I don't think I've read anything else from him, so to your point, like there's not a lot of cachet behind him. But if... I'm hoping similar to some of the other books that the way that DC will publish stuff, where you attach a creative team, kind of just like let it run. The same thing with the Riley Rosmo, Stephanie Phillips, Harley Quinn thing. People show up to that because Harley Quinn, they show up for the Harley Quinn character. I did for both the creative teams. I really like those creators. But in this scenario, I think if he has a story to tell, being brought in by the Miles Morales moniker probably supersedes what your expectation is going to be. And I'd much rather be pleasantly surprised than come into a big name who's just gonna tell a generic story for the sake of, well, I'm a big name and I'm revitalizing the character.
Yeah, but how often have we seen that already? Like, I think if you're a name, you're gonna come in with a story to tell,
It's a good
you
point.
know,
Yeah.
unless you're a bad writer. Um, I just, I just don't know who's here for a Miles Morales book, you know?
I've said this several times on the show over the last 2 months. I'm not going to go on my soapbox again about it, but Marvel has devalued Miles, and it almost, I would never claim this to be a fact, but it almost feels like it's on purpose. I just don't get it. I don't. Like, why is there not, and if there is, and I'm wrong, I'll eat crow. Why is there not a Miles Morales book for young people? Where's that at? Why is there not? Why is the last top tier writer to write Miles Brian Michael Bendis? How could that be the case? Like, is it a vendetta against Bendis because it was his character that he created? I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, assuming it's not malice, like purposeful malice, like it just seems like they don't know what to do with him. And it's because they keep forcing Peter Parker back into the same situation over and over and over again.
Yeah. Or you bring back characters like Ben Reilly.
Well, even that, like, that could be interesting against Miles. Miles could learn something from Ben. Totally.
Kale, compare this to Wally and help me
and Wally.
No,
Barry.
Barry, thank you.
Oh, well, like, geez. So in the 80s on Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry Allen dies. Wally West is Kid Flash, and he's college something. So Wally West takes over as the Flash. He's got, at this point, before Barry comes back in the 2010s, Wally's got something like 20 years of being the Flash, Flash, and the one that everybody thinks of before Barry comes back. So, like, there are generations of people, our generation, who think of Wally as the Flash. And I think the thing is, with the Flashes especially, is that Barry was the Flash in, like, the Silver Age where stuff was goofy. And then Wally started getting, like, real development. And then you'd see stuff, that harken back to Barry, and you sort of idolize Barry the way Wally did. I think Miles needs that in some form or fashion. I'm not saying kill Peter Parker. You could kill Peter Parker. But, like, he needs to go away so that Miles can have his time. Otherwise, what are they doing?
If Miles was in main 616 Marvel during Superior Spider-Man, I think that would have helped.
Yeah, he hadn't made it over at that point.
Nope.
You could be right. Maybe Dan Slott could have, done some stuff with him, but I think I sort of wonder what that would have done. Do you still have the Superior Spider-Man book with Otto as Peter? Or do you treat him like a sort of hands-off what's he out there doing? And then give Miles the Spider-Man book. And then, occasionally you hear about Peter in the distance doing shady stuff, but Miles has got to he's got to deal with New York now. And I don't know, maybe you're right.
Yeah, I think that is the absence of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, creates a space for Miles that hasn't existed. It just never existed. And at that time, Marvel still had Bendis. So you could have had Miles be written by Bendis, drawn by Pacelli, filling the void in New York of him knowing something is wrong with Peter.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that knows it. Everyone else might think it. I know they kind of was like, oh, Peter's acting funky. Miles knows. Yeah. And he has to do something about it. But he also has to be the Spider-Man of New York. Mm-hmm. And he's 16. That is compelling.
Perfect. That's the recipe for Spider-Man. I think I sort of pitched this last week as my Avengers team or whatever. Peter sort of decides, listen, Earth and regular superhero shit isn't working out for me. I'm going to go hang out with the Avengers. I'm going to do some cosmic shit. Have at it, Miles.
Yeah,
I think that would do a ton for both of them, frankly.
Why is it the case that in the Miles Morales video game, the creators of that game figured out, hey, in order to make a Miles Morales video game, Peter Parker cannot be in this game as Spider-Man. It's common sense. If Peter Parker is Spider-Man in a Miles Morales game, then you, the player, will say, well, shit, how come I can't play as Peter?
Yep.
They took him out of the game. Same thing as a reader. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this run is good. I'll leave it at that. I have no desire for this to do bad. I want it to be good. I want to read Miles comics.
These Peach Momoko variants, hot fire.
Ooh, the she's got one for the new old costume, with the hoodie or whatever.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
This one's good.
She's a
cool
talent.
stuff.
I want to talk about I want to talk about the craziest shade I saw all week in comics. And it comes from none other. No one can throw shade the way that Steve Geppi throws shade.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yes. So Dark Horse, the headline is that Dark Horse is going to be exclusively distributing their single issue comics through Penguin Random House.
Wow.
So they are the next publisher to make that jump, leaving the premier publishers at Diamond, Image, and Boom. Image and Boom are the last big deal publishers left over there for single issue comics.
It's a good move, frankly.
Agreed. It's working out great for everybody else. Free shipping sounds amazing.
Yep.
And it's also worth pointing out that Penguin Random House got their stuff together. When they first partnered up with Marvel, there was a lot of complaining about, books coming, bent or with the edges messed up or coming late or whatever. They have made that right several times over. And again, free shipping. This is what the representative of Geppi Family Enterprises, which is the name of their overall company, which encompasses Diamond, Alliance, Baltimore, something or other. I read that shit. I said, wait, Geppi Family Enterprises owns Baltimore? That's pretty cool.
Owns the whole city of Baltimore.
Wow. But this is what he said. And you tell me if you read this how I did. I read this and I said, holy shit, we have to talk about this. This is what he said. Dark Horse has been our valued partner for close to 30 years, and we are pleased that Diamond remains a key source for Dark Horse comics and graphic novels to the direct market domestically and internationally. Okay, that's true. We are also pleased to maintain our role as distributor of Dark Horse merchandise worldwide. It's important to note that while Dark Horse is an established name in the industry, the expected impact of this change to Diamond's Dark Horse direct market sales represents only approximately 1% of Diamond's top line sales, inclusive of comics, games, merchandise, and pop culture items. We are so much more than just comic book distribution.
Wow.
Diamond and all the Geppi family enterprises companies have worked strategically and successfully to diversify over the years, with our most recent example being the launch of Overstreet Access, blah, 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 blah. I look forward to our continued service of the direct and book markets, as well as the continued growth of the GFE portfolio of companies.
Damn, yo, he said Dark Horse ain't shit. He said, go ahead, leave. You're less than I don't give a shit. I could poop and it has more value than you. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Savage.
That was good. That was well done.
Every time that a publisher leaves Diamond for direct market single issue, they do this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, what else are you gonna? I mean, you have to react in a certain way, and I think the way that, because they're still a private company, is my understanding, and so you need to be able. You need to evoke a positive outlook for a negative, for this kind of negative interaction. You want to be able to say, sure, yes, we're adapting, we're changing, we're moving, things are different, but the Diamond comics that you know, or the Geppi family, whatever it is that you know, that's not changing, and that's still secure, and that is that will not be shaken, and that's what he's trying to say. Sorry.
Or even to the point of, like, you know, okay, you don't know Diamond or the Geppi family business. You're worried about the Dark Horse back catalog. Don't worry, we still got it.
Exactly, and that's the thing to evoke here, and I think that was well done. And hey, man, if you gotta throw a little shade, sometimes you gotta, you know, remind them who they were. That's it.
But this is why I love that Diamond is a family business, because, like, let's say it was Penguin Random House, for example, for some reason that was losing business. They wouldn't say, oh yeah, this shit was irrelevant anyway. They would deliver the essential same message, which you laid out, Marco, expertly, but they would do it in a way that was professional. This was straight petty.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I love about it. So I hope Diamond never goes away for that exact reason.
You want to see them continue to throw other companies under the bus.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I also wanted to quickly read some reactions from some comics shop owners regarding this, because every time this happens, I always like to see what they have to say, and Bleeding Cool always puts together reports about that. So I'll go through that a little bit. So Brian Hibbs owns Comics Experience in San Francisco. We've shared his thoughts many times, especially when DC left Diamond. So he said, I thought this letter from Geppi was astonishingly petty, and if I were a remaining Diamond Comics distributing publisher, I'd sure be wondering what they're saying about you behind your back. Diamond has now had 3 years to fix their underlying problems with shipping and costs and inventory control and messaging since DC said they were leaving. They've had about 3 decades of retailers complaining to the upper management team about shipping, and they have steadfastly refused to do a damn thing about it. Even modest changes would have resolved most of it, but they've done fuck all. I want a healthy Diamond Comics, and I way would rather buy all of my comics and product from them. But Diamond made that impossible. Don't blame other people for your inability to change.
Yep. I'm. It's been interesting to see the past few years how all of this is, like, the fallout of everything. I know when we first brought it up, a few of us were skeptical about how how long standing this would be, whether or not other publishers would follow suit. I think I was particularly enthused about this shift away from Diamond, and uh, I figured other companies would follow suit because it makes sense from a business standpoint. Like at the end of the day, if you're not performing as an actual catering to needs, catering to your clients, if you're not performing, then why are you going to do a Pikachu face when another company needs you, right? Like, oh, like exactly to Hib's point is fix the shit you have. Don't focus on growth. Focus on retention, because you need to make sure that the people that you're there with stay with you. Because yeah, it's only 1% of your business, and according to you, but well, Marvel wasn't, DC wasn't. Like you fucked up, and Image Comics probably not gonna be, right? If they look at this and say, hey, you know what? Why do we need Diamond Comics? The only two big publishers are Boom and Image at the moment. Maybe IDW if you want to throw them in there, but that's small potatoes compared to the shit you've already lost. Step it up.
Yeah, exactly right. And Mark Dixon had a great point. He was the owner of a comic shop in Ohio. This is something I never thought of. Diamond should have consolidated Alliance game distribution and comics distribution together a long time ago. Alliance still has free freight on money orders. If a retailer had game product going out on a Monday, then comics could be included for free shipping, and all coming from the same warehouse. That would have helped retailers tremendously.
Wait, so does that mean you get two shipments, one from Alliance and then one from? Oh, that's so stupid. That's asinine.
And one is free and one is not.
That's so dumb.
And the comics, which are arguably harder to sell, are the ones that's not free.
Wild.
When you could easily do it together. It's the same company.
Alliance is like board games and stuff? Like
card games, board games. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be like if you ordered food from, let's say, Popeyes, for argument's sake, and they sent you your chicken for free, but you had to pay to have the fries brought to you, and it came at a different time.
That's so funny. Like all of it just like Frankenstein pieces from like different Popeyes around the city.
Isn't there what's it called? Rallies and isn't there
Checkers? Rallies and Checkers.
Rallies and Checkers. That'd be like if you got your fries from Rallies, but your burger from Checkers.
Yeah. Good ass fries, dude.
Tremendous. But why get them to? Wouldn't you want them together?
For sure.
Shit makes no sense.
Great.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting because Dark Horse making this move. Okay, that's big. They also have a large line of manga, which is the other piece of business that they're really heavily invested in. That's a huge piece, and I can only imagine, considering how popular manga is, I'm assuming that's not less than the 1% of Diamond's top line at the moment, but they were one of the few American publishers that also had that included in their offerings, and so now Diamond's losing that also. I think that's important to note because those are two different audiences, and you're appeasing to both in one, and now you don't have that.
And how much longer until they lose the Dark Horse back matter, the Dark Horse collectibles, the
Image.
Dark Horse likes Penguin Random House, like.
But dude, why would you even stay with Diamond after they shit on you like that?
Right, exactly.
I'm on the first boat out.
Well, I'm assuming there's like different contracts for different things.
Sure.
So like you're locked into one, but you're free on another one.
And as soon as I can, I'm saying, hey, Diamond, see you later. You can publish our stuff overseas. Go ahead, sure.
At this point, I'm already making plans to figure out, all right, how do I exit this early? How do I make the appropriate steps to make it as smooth a transition as possible?
Dark Horse was weren't they bought by a Chinese overhead company? Am I crazy for the parent company?
I think you're thinking Lion Forge.
I think there's something to that, but I don't remember exactly. But I think there's something to that.
Let me take a quick look.
No matter who owns them.
Embracer.
Embracer Group. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. Back in December last year.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Swedish gaming company.
There you go.
Oh, Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
So, it may be darkest for Diamond right now, but the day is dawning for DC. Because
what a transition.
Well
thanks.
done.
Appreciate it.
Wow.
Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths is ending in December with issue 7, and that's going to lead into the next big overarching era for DC, which is called Dawn of the DCU. Now, you'll notice if you are looking at the... Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. I've been doing this for a while. If you notice, on the image that I have shared with you guys, and I'll explain it for the audio listeners, it is Nightwing, sort of like in this almost like religious pose.
Heavenly light.
Yeah, it looks sort of cosmic. When I saw this, I thought of Kyle Rayner. I thought of Brightest Day. I don't know if this was meant to evoke that at all, but that's what I thought. And if you remember, Brightest Day was, it had that big banner over the issues, and it was supposed to be this new era. This is described as a new editorial regime for DC.
Ooh.
We've got people who are gonna stay. We've got people that we're not gonna fire.
And something that I haven't seen anyone mention about this new era, and it's what's gonna sort of help us get into our main topic here in a bit, but this is actually the first time since Dan Didio left where every single thing that's happening at DC has no tie to that era.
Oh.
Because if you recall, even some of the stuff we were seeing...
Oh, to like the New 52.
Yes. And
interesting.
To the, remember the 5G stuff?
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that has happened, like in the last 2 years, was still echoes of 5G. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman to a far lesser degree, were taken off the board and replaced by the new versions. It wasn't Dan Didio's exact vision, but it still happened because in comics you have to work long ahead. Shit, we were seeing stuff that was already drawn that they had to use and repurpose.
Right. Yep.
This is the first time that that's no longer the case. They have essentially replaced the editorial team, not necessarily by their intent. People were fired and stuff like that. You guys remember the upheaval that went on over the last couple of years. Well, they've essentially replaced those people. And now we get to see what the new editorial team wants to say about DC. That is the subject of our main topic. However, I did want to quickly address a one-shot that DC is putting out called Dark Crisis Big Bang. And this was interesting to me because, and I think I have a slide for that.
Taking a page out of the Krakoan era, huh?
Oh, man. So this is going to be written by Mark Waid, which is already a plus.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it is going to be exploring the many worlds introduced in the new Infinite Multiverse, including several of the universes that have been introduced over the last 2 years, including Justice League or Jurassic League, DC Mech, Dark Knights of Steel, and Batman 89, making them all canon.
That's so cool. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
See, this is how you have your cake and eat it too, where you make continual multiverses and you get people who are on board like me for Dark Knights of Steel, people who are fans of the OG Superman, Batman stuff. Like this is a genuinely good idea to connect all of it and still be able to say, well, it's all kind of separate.
Right. Exactly. And I think that, Kale would know better, but I think that's sort of what the appeal of the multiverse was. That you could have these different renditions of these characters and say, well, this is this, but that is that. And they don't necessarily have to overlap or care about each other, but sometimes they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they do, it's part of the larger history. That's it.
Right. And so
cool.
This issue will take place timeline-wise just after issue 4 of Dark Crisis. This is what Mark Waid had to say. Dark Crisis Big Bang is a celebration of DC's nearly 90 years of imagination and invention. In its way, it's my own personal love letter to the DC Universe, my way of helping new readers discover and longtime fans rediscover all its vibrancy and excitement.
And, you know they have a new editorial team when they let Mark Waid just have the reins.
It's a good idea. It's a very good idea.
One thing that I think a lot of comic book readers don't know about is the behind the scenes stuff of comics.
Yeah.
And the fact that Mark Waid could not write at DC for, I don't know, what was it, 20 years plus?
20 years, yeah.
Just because of who the editor of who was running DC at the time is crazy to me. And he loves DC Comics. And he didn't do anything wrong. It's so petty. And I love that comics has that element to it. But if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And you got to listen to podcasts like this to find that stuff out. Yeah, I'm super excited for this. This is awesome. So Dan Jurgens is going to contribute art to this, but a lot of other artists will as well. They haven't been announced yet, but I think this is going to be really cool.
Yeah, this is awesome. As a way to explore, I started reading FF and the opening pieces where it's just Sue and the kids and the Future Foundation just exploring shit. I'm like, oh, this is rad, because they're just continuing to go into the universes that they make. This feels like an extension of that conceptually, where we're going to just explore the things that have become popular, the things that exist in the world, to just bring a different light to them.
Yeah.
Fun. That's what it feels like, fun.
Yeah. Agreed. But all this positive about DC, and I think this is their last shot. I really do. This is the second sort of major shift that they're doing in 2 years, because I believe Dark Knight's Death Metal was 2 years ago.
Oh.
And that was a major shift. It was supposed to be. This is the second one they're doing in 2 years. DC cannot do this again in another 2 years. And if this doesn't work, and it doesn't, sort of revitalize their sales and numbers, if it's what the New 52 ended up being, I think DC might be in big trouble. That's what we're going to talk about in our main topic. We will be back for you watching on Twitch in 5 minutes or less. Stick around. See you real soon. Hey, we're back. We are back.
We did it, y'all.
We did it. We made it. And
We did it, Joe.
I want to say, first of all, thank you if you're still watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave us a follow if you're watching on Twitch. Subscribe on Twitch. That would be great. If you have Amazon Prime, that means that you have an Amazon Prime Twitch subscription, which you can give us for free if you have been entertained by this show and you feel generous. We would appreciate that very much. Catherine said, I'm about to buy Sunday Comic-Con tickets. I need to justify it somehow. Hey, yeah, you should do that. You should
come
do that.
through.
Yeah.
We'll hang out.
Come see your favorite boys.
Yeah.
Minus your favoriteest boy.
Can't have everything,
He'll be there.
Kale.
He'll be there. He's going to be on the iPad.
Also, if you somehow missed the announcement, we are going to be interviewing the one, the only Geoff Johns next week here on the show, 10:15 a.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/thecomicspals. So make sure that, you come hang out for that. If you can't make it, that's cool. Send your questions anyway. And of course, as always, the episode will go up on all our feeds. So you will be able to catch it down the road if you can't make it. But please do make it if you can. Let's talk about the DCU comics.
Oh.
The DCU, not the FU. And what the future holds for DC Comics. Now, I said before, I think this is their last chance. I feel like DC has all the pieces in place for this next era to be the best one since I started reading comics. I really do. But they have some things that they have to address and do in order for that to be the case. And so what I'd like to do is just break down what I think about that, and then you guys tell me if I'm wrong or whatever. So
before you even get started,
sure.
I mean, I have the answer. I know I solve it. I can solve it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, please do.
They need to bring the line back to $2.99.
If we were doing a top 5, that would be number 1.
Number 1 with a bullet. Number 1 with 3 bullets.
Number 1 with $2.99 bullets. How about that?
Exactly.
Damn.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Dark Knight's death metal ended, and if you recall, it promised a lot of stuff. They introduced the concept of I think it was called the Totality, which was supposed to be like this like almost like Justice League space station or whatever.
Yeah.
Where they were gonna, thwart off the threats that were coming from wherever, and it was gonna be this, crazy team. I think it had God, who did it have? It had Vandal Savage was on it. It had like all kinds of Lex Luthor was on it.
That's where Barry Allen went.
Yep.
Right? Like,
Yes.
That's why he's not in the mainline continuity.
Yep.
Barack Obama, the Superman.
Oh my god.
Is,
Captain Carrot, right?
Yeah.
They introduced that concept. They talked about the Elseworlds and all these different things that they discussed. And essentially none of that has been revisited. Joshua Williamson did stuff with Captain Carrot. He did stuff with the Black Superman, whose name I can't recall, unfortunately.
Barack Obama.
President Superman?
President Superman, thank you.
Former President Superman.
Yep. And that's kind of it. Scott Snyder laid a groundwork for the future of DC, which I would imagine he was asked to do. Otherwise, why would you waste your page space doing that? And then they didn't even use it.
Yeah.
That sort of makes sense, given where everything has been editorially. But the reason why I bring it up is because I feel like there's been a history at DC of things happening that matter in that exact specific moment and then never again. I got another example. What is the tail? What's the fallout of Doomsday Clock?
Oh, nothing, dude.
Nothing.
That was a nothing burger, and it was propped up to be the first introduction of Watchmen back into mainline DCU, and that was going to be this momentous occasion. And what was it? Dr. Manhattan created the DC universe, and there was so much there, and no follow through.
Mm-hmm.
What was the fallout other than the Wally stuff and I guess the Poison Ivy stuff of Heroes in Crisis? Now, that event wasn't great, but I don't frankly care how good or bad an event is. If it's an event, it has to have fallout. Otherwise, who cares?
Wasn't the fallout? I mean, didn't we see that in was it Flash Forward, where Wally went wherever Wally went and got the Dr. Manhattan powers and then the Metron chair?
Yeah.
That
Metron? Yeah.
I interpret it as a redemption for Wally.
I do too, but I think ultimately that was the fallout. Like, I don't think that, I don't necessarily know if that was planned, but I think that's what allowed everything to coalesce into death metal or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, that's like oh shit, we got to redeem this thing that we did. So let's do it. Like, it came way later. Like, I'm talking about, like, you establish this whole playground now.
Yeah.
And then you don't do anything with it. And that's what it feels like DC's kind of been doing for the last several years. And so that's the first problem that I think they have to tackle. There have to be stakes. There have to be. Mm-hmm. If something, however Dark Crisis ends, it has to cascade and it has to lead into something. So the fact that there's a banner, the dawn of the DCU, that gives me hope that they will do this. There has to be follow through.
Well, we don't know how it's gonna end, but that follow through has to be a revitalization of the Justice League, and then from there stuff has to continue to spill out. And I'm hoping Nightwing, because that's the thing that confuses me, is like, how is Nightwing going to play into this if we know at the end of the day the Justice League is coming back? Like, why is he the face of this?
I personally interpret it as, I have always felt Nightwing is the main character of DC. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but to me, he's their Spider-Man. He's the one who's grown up in DC, lived amongst the gods, always been a man. And he's the character that is the focus of Dark Crisis. So if anyone's going to solve the crisis, then I think that it should be Nightwing. And I would imagine that will come with some kind of momentary power boost or something of that nature to make this image make sense.
Power.
Yeah, some kind of power. And, cool. Because that's a great way forward. Yes, build around Nightwing. Do more with Nightwing. Absolutely. I'm all in on that idea. But even if they solve that problem, I think there's another problem. And I think it might be a bigger problem. Right now, Dark Crisis is telling us that the Justice League is dead, meaning that the principal members of the League are gone.
Right.
If you buy, right now, Batman by Chip Zdarsky, Batman is alive and well, being threatened by Failsafe, saved by Superman.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Who is simultaneously dead, but also on Warworld.
Oh, that's right. Damn.
Can't do that. Not to me. DC, in my time span of being a fan of their books, has always been the company that is so concerned with you understanding their continuity and making it clean and clear and understandable, but then also not respecting it at all.
Right.
You have an event right now that is taking place that is literally all about continuity. But at the same time, it doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form because the characters that are dead are in their own books, doing their own things, not referencing the event in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that works. I think sales will rise if you say, hey, Superman's off the board for a few months. Buy the #1 when he comes back. Imagine if they were able to say, Dawn of the DCU, Superman #1, Batman #1, Wonder Woman #1.
they can't do that. That they have to finish up all the other storylines. They have to figure out what to do with the current, to your point, the current row of characters that still exist. And unless they do something with like these are all in multiverses, but then that feels like it complicates and muddles the message of the dawn of the DCU.
I'm saying Failsafe could have started, what, 2 months later?
Sure. Right.
Even a simple caption, an editor's note. It's not like DC has never done that.
Oh, they're the king of that. To say, oh, this takes place before Dark Crisis or even after. I don't care. Do something to make me know that the continuity of your line that you constantly do events about matters. Something. I'd take an editor's note. Fuck it. You don't want to lose money on publishing Batman comics? I get it. Give me an editor's note.
Well, and like it's weird for this event that there are no tie-ins, especially in the major character books. Batman's dead, but he's in the books, but his books aren't referencing that at all.
Well, you can't because he is dead in one and he's alive in the other. You just can't create a crossover through that because that actual story continuity is not present. And I think it's confusing, but I'm not a stickler for canon and stuff like that. In that same way, like I'm also a bit more separate of the event space and like the dynamics of it. I think the stuff we've been covering for Marvel has introduced me more so to that, but for DC, it's always felt like those things can be disparate, and I'm more okay with that because it's been the status quo for DC. I'd have issue with that, I think, now that I think about it, for Marvel because of how focused they are on keeping things in line with each of the titles. And as much as I complain about it, I think it makes logical sense, and I like that in the books. But for this, there's no clean way to. You're gonna have to kill them in their individual books. Like Superman's gonna have to die in Warworld. Failsafe's gonna have to kill Batman, and then the dawn of DCU comes up and it's like, oh, here we are we're starting back from scratch. That's the only way I can envision it working and playing together.
But it's not like they haven't done that millions of times,
And that's fine, but I think to salvage the continuity of it, you need to do that in these books. This arc of Failsafe, Batman has to die. This arc of Warworld, Superman has to die. Otherwise, then what are we doing with this relaunch? How are we relaunching it?
Well, I think that what I'm referring to is what they need to do going forward. I think it's too far gone right now. There's no way to solve the problem as it is because it already happened. And Batman and Superman didn't die that way. They died fighting, the hordes of enemies that this guy brought on. What's the name of the villain in Dark Crisis? Pariah. Yeah, they died fighting Pariah. So Batman doesn't have to die fighting Failsafe because he already died fighting Pariah. What they should have done was either editor's note, like Kale said, or just not done these stories yet. Waited a beat. For Superman's story, you can't do that. That's been going on for like a year plus. Give that an editor's note. For Batman, you can just wait. I don't think it's that crazy to wait a few months. Or a third option, and this is probably what I would have preferred personally, is the Worlds Without a Justice League stories that they've done as one-shots, do those in the books. Do a 3-issue arc for that version of Batman. Do the same thing for Superman and the same thing for Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you get the advantage of being like, we're starting this new thing, clean slate. Here is Chip Zdarsky on Batman #1. That's hot fire. That's a good fluidity of messaging.
Well, and the other thing in Batman right now, too, is he's gone through this massive life shift of, losing his fortune or whatever.
Right.
That was the first I'd heard of that, and fucking it's a whole new world for Batman. So he's already had a massive, reset.
Right. And by the way, The idea that I just presented, if you like it, I'm not a genius. I didn't come up with that. That's exactly what they would have done in 2007. That's how events used to be.
Yep.
They just don't do those things anymore. And I think that something was lost because they're afraid of turning people off by having events that force books to tie in. We talked about that a little earlier. But the fact is that when you don't do that, it leads to this situation. And so all I'm saying is, in the future, I think DC should, if you want to make me believe that continuity matters, prove it in your own books.
But wasn't the thing with the whatever the fuck the last thing was, that continuity doesn't matter?
Yes.
Like all the stories are just stories.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now they do.
The Omega-verse or whatever it's called.
The Omniverse. But now that's gone. That's not a thing anymore.
Oh, wait, what?
Now it's this. Now it's the infinite Earths.
Oh, that's right.
But what I'm talking about was that editorial edict from, I don't know, 2015 or whatever the fuck.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was a thing, right? But then Dan Didio, who is a, veteran titan of DC, said, no, we need to show and be able to prove that everything matters and everything happened. Right? So there's this confusion and this mixed messaging. If you, this is so crazy. We haven't even talked about this on the show yet. If you read the Geoff Johns, what's the event that's going on? That with Batman's father from the Flashpoint.
Is it Flashpoint Beyond?
Yes, Flashpoint Beyond, the Flashpoint sequel. In that book, Geoff Johns essentially spoils the end of Dark Crisis and kind of sort of says that what they're dealing with over there and what they're trying to do with the concept is irrelevant. So at the exact same time that your premiere event is being published, you have another event being published where the messaging of that event is different than the one that, is supposed to be the big summer blockbuster.
Messy.
Right. It cannot be that way anymore. You can hate Marvel Comics if you want to, right? One thing you can't say is that they have continuity problems. They don't. It's all sort of one straight track. And when people kind of thought they might have some continuity problems, Jonathan Hickman did Secret Wars. And that was a one-time thing that they did. And they haven't touched it again, and it's fine.
And here they are going back to the Crisis Well.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, generally when Marvel does it, like, it's a smaller level villain, a Norman Osborn, who did Siege.
Siege was Norman.
It was okay, yeah. It's not, it's not a giant universe resetting thing. They can, they might have a hard time beating the bad guy, but okay, finally it's done. Now we can do something a little different.
Right.
Whereas with DC, it's like, oh God, the whole universe, the whole line, the whole company's got to go out the window into the trash.
And that is another point that I wanted to make. Stories that don't have the universe in balance. Why can't Lex Luthor have a big plan that leads to an event? Legion of Doom versus Justice League, but not as like a BS little event. Something major and cool that has seeds planted over the course of a year or 6 months or whatever that leads to, something awesome. Why can't Darkseid have a big plan that doesn't have the universe at play? There are other characters you can use other than Pariah and Anti-Monitor.
Right. Even the stuff on Warworld right now, like you can do a whole cosmic style like event there because he's on another planet. The heroes have to come save him. Whatever. There's a lot you can do within the context of the stories being told that don't necessarily need you to reactivate this entire line restart. Like you could probably do a restart of everything just coming out of the events of Warworld. Like, what are the consequences now? How does this affect the larger DC universe that's at play at the moment? Those have ripples.
It reminds me, reading Blackest Night, I was thinking about this. And before, well, yeah, before the New 52 and Flashpoint, and everyone was dead. Fucking, they reference all the people that have died. If they haven't died, they've died and come back, or there's so much history that was so deeply interwoven, and you use it or you don't use it, but it's all there. And just like you're describing, like I was just thinking of it's like the Dominator War or whatever. A nothing event, in the grand scheme of it, but like it was a whole universe wide thing, and you never hear about it, but like it was just another thing,
right?
And they have to do these massive event level things with the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor every other year. And it's not exciting anymore.
Right. Like, who really was that hyped for the Batman Who Laughs and Perpetua? Like,
yeah,
Perpetua. Right. Who the hell is that? And the Batman Who Laughs felt like a Kids Love Chains character.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, he kept playing with that in Noctera, it looks like, too.
Yeah. It's essentially the same guy. So, yeah, I just feel like bring the events down to not small scale, but events that affect Earth only, for example. Events that, like Blackest Night, yes, it has wider implications, but it's not like, oh, yeah, after this, the universe will never be the same again either way. Like, no matter who wins, the universe will never be the same. And when I say universe, I mean like multiverse. Like, what if this next event just affects the one universe? You know what I'm saying? Like, It doesn't always have to be that. But my last point, and this is something that I think DC's actually gotten right this year, is to shuffle the deck and focus more on characters who aren't the same characters that we see all the time. I think if you look at Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths with Nightwing as the main character, you have Black Adam in a role that's non-traditional. You have the new weird Justice League is filled with characters you would not expect. Superman's son John is front and center. I think that Joshua Williamson has done all of that right, and taking the Justice League off the board was the right choice. Obviously, they have to come back. How do you allow those characters to level up, which I think DC has generally been good at historically over the last 40, 50 years, while also having your established characters? You cannot kill Batman for 40 years to make Nightwing feel relevant. Right. They have to be there at the same time.
They did it with The Flash.
It's just a different time. I don't think Warner would ever allow it.
Yeah, you certainly could do it now.
Yeah.
I think to something that Kale had mentioned when we were talking about the Marvel stuff, like if for Miles, let's say, where Spider-Man goes off to do Avengers stuff. I mean, if you keep Bruce Wayne and Clark and Wonder Woman, all those as the Justice League to go do larger, more impactful, I guess, heroics, and then you keep the new characters, Yara Flor, to stay and do some of the smaller stuff at home on Earth, and Jonathan Kent in the same situation, and then you can kind of have those characters be groomed into the positions of where historically these larger characters would be, where Clark would be in Metropolis saving the city. Now you have John doing the same thing, and they're off doing whatever they need to be doing to save, the multiverse or a universe. The scale, you can play with the scale of the adventures and rotate in this new cast of characters and give them just like a starting ground to like actually get to know them and have people and readers get attached to them. Because I want to learn more about Yara Flor, but all the stuff that's been going on with Wonder Woman, the Amazon War, the trials of all that stuff, like it was confusing and there's too much going on, and not enough of that was dedicated towards me just figuring out, okay, who is this new girl? Like what do I know about her and why do I care about her in comparison to Wonder Woman, who's off doing, she became like this god thing, right? Like there's a lot there that you need to resolve and that you can resolve with storytelling.
I don't think DC can keep doing that, because they did it with Wonder Woman. She's gone. Superman's been gone. Batman was poor and exiled or whatever. So that was the 5G strategy, right? Like, and we saw it play out. And I think Yara was a casualty of the fact that she was tethered creatively to Joelle Jones, who is not traditionally a writer and didn't quite have it figured out beyond a visual what to do with that character. But I think if you look at John, that's a success blueprint. Superman has been gone, but that's not the most interesting part of John's story. The most interesting part of John's story is that John was gone. When John left and was with his grandfather, he came back a teenager. Now we have a character, oh shit, we don't know him. He's different. What's up with him? Now he's got a boyfriend. Now he's got these experiences that he had on another planet. Now I give a shit.
Yep.
It didn't take his father to be dead or gone for him to become compelling. It took a good idea. And that's all it is. That's all it is.
What's and sorry, Sean, I don't know if you
go ahead.
What's something that you want to see like a positive come out of Dawn of the DC? Like what is a thing that they need to prop up to be successful?
My answer is twofold. You're saying prop up. I think prop up the villains, because I do think that DC has a bit of a villain problem because their events are always so massive. If you were to do, say, like a Lex Luthor event where he's not suddenly cosmically powered, people might say, oh, I don't care about that. We just saw the universe at play. Lex, Vandal Savage, I think, is another one. I think Ra's al Ghul's another one. There are several others that you make matter. Don't use them in the Batman or Superman books. Take them off the board. The reason why it mattered whenever Thanos came back was because you didn't see him often. You know what I'm saying? When was the last time you bought a comic book and Kang was in it? These villains don't get used a lot in that role because when they do, it's something big. And DC has to be better about that. They have to level their villains up. So that's the one part. And then the second part is essentially what I already addressed about the younger heroes. I would like to see a Legion of Doom versus the new Justice League. How does John and Damian and Yada and all these people, how do they stack up with the Legion of Doom? What does that look like? You know, when will John save the world? The way that Superman has countless times. To make him a major player. When is Nightwing going to save them? Like, there's so many characters that are bubbling that you can say, hey, let's make them A tier. Or let's take them from C and make them B. And I think DC has to focus on that.
I like that. I like that as an idea, bringing, like, raising the status of those characters, because you're right. Like Nightwing, he's not B tier. He's definitely A tier, but like he has the potential to be like S tier right now.
Yeah.
Like he has the potential to really change the trajectory of his own character, or the DC has the potential to change the direction of his character, his role in the universe, and I think that that's really important. And you can do that with a few different characters. I think from like a publishing line perspective, I think a consolidated banner under all of this would be really helpful, because right now we have the Black Label stuff, we have the DC horror things, we have Sandman universe. There's all these disparate niches built out, and if they're trying to tie everything together, I think it all has to be under a single message to be able to say, okay, this is a maybe Black Label book that discusses this, but it's related in some way to the larger strategy that we have for Dawn of the DCU. You need to have those pieces connect in my mind, because then otherwise you're, from a publishing standpoint, just like from the way it's structured, you're going to have that be broken out, and you're again breaking your own rules about the publishing lines. Is you don't have that continuity across not only the types of books that you'll be able to put out, but you don't have that continuity across. It'll extend beyond just the characters. It'll extend into the actual layout of comics published on a weekly basis. And I think that's important too, because if you're going to the store to pick up a book and you're going to pick up a few different things, you want it to have to kind of be holistic, because I'm more comfortable picking up all the stories that I know are tied in together to one thing, to one narrative, than, all right, this week's DC Black Label, whatever it might be, or this week's Sandman universe, or this week's horror. Like if those pieces are different, I feel more comfortable going, maybe I won't pick up this week's Black Label. Actually, maybe I wasn't as big a fan of this area of the Sandman stuff, and I'm gonna let that just kind of like leave that one for this week.
That's interesting. I agree with you 100% on principle. I don't care at all about stories that are outside of continuity or not like mainline, right? The only non-continuity line I ever cared about was Ultimate, and that's because it was a universe unto itself, but it had its own continuity, and you could follow it. So I'm lock, stock, and barrel with you. The only problem is that we're talking about DC. And I don't think that they've ever really done that. And I certainly don't think that that's where they're going now that they have announced that the Infinite Universes includes, some of the stuff that we've seen ongoing, like Batman 89 and Jurassic League and all that stuff. I think they want to have their cake and eat it too, which is the perennial story of DC Comics. And as much as I don't like it, they have had some success with Black Label and some of that other stuff. So what I would say is a way to do that, what you're saying, and then also allow them to have their cake, is to focus more on continuity in the mainline DC. Make it matter more inside of the confines of what we see happen in the main books that are bannered Dawn of the DCU. Black Label, sure, have it. I don't give a shit. I don't have to buy it. Sandman Universe, have it. I don't care. Don't have to buy it. But make sure that what I am purchasing that's mainline feels tight. And the stories don't have to be connected necessarily, but the world has to feel connected. And to me right now, it doesn't.
Sure. Yeah.
Kale, any final thoughts?
I mean, for me to sort of, answer Marco's initial question, what can DC do? I think it goes back to what I said at the very top of this segment, is bring the price down.
Fair enough.
Genuinely, like, your big books, we pay $7 for fucking Joker.
We don't.
Like,
no, I mean, who does that?
I mean, nobody here, certainly. And we would never accuse someone. But, okay, you get a prestige book, a Black Label, bigger format, longer, more art content, whatever. Okay, fine. But the books that your meat and potatoes, the books that feed your company, no one can afford. And you're cannibalizing yourself by making everyone pay, $6 for Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever because you say it's important, but all the other books are suffering. And it's like this false dichotomy of, well, look at the sales on this book. Of course, this is what people want, but you jacked up the price and you forced us to pay it so other books would fail.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Because it's like, if I have a certain budget for comics, if the average comic is $4 now and Dark Crisis is 6 or 7, well, shoot, what am I sacrificing to buy Dark Crisis this month?
Yeah, exactly. And if it's, if Dark Crisis is your big event and you want people to buy it, why is it $8?
Or if you want it to be $6, like, I'm at the point where paying $6 for an event book is like, okay, I guess fine. But can the rest of the line be $3?
Right?
Yeah.
They got books that are $5 that aren't event books.
You need that value there, because then otherwise, to Geoff's point, those books are not gonna be bought.
No, I'm not even saying they need the value there. The books themselves have the value, but the cost that they're asking us to pay is too high.
Right.
The rent is too damn high.
Bro, let me tell you.
And that is a comics-wide problem that I think DC has exacerbated by assuming that if you include a backup, it justifies a dollar price increase, and it just doesn't. It doesn't. It hasn't. I don't. Listen, I have a cousin named Scene Barkley, and he told me that the Joker backups were irrelevant and that he never read them. So
Wild.
Why am I paying, or is he paying $1 more? Not even $1 more. This shit was $7. Why am I paying $3 more for one backup that I didn't ask for? You sold me on this Joker story.
Yeah.
I'm reading this random backup. I don't care.
Fucking Justice League Dark was in the back of Justice League.
Oh yeah.
And what was it when Rom V was writing it?
Yep.
It was like better than the mainline book.
Should have been its own book.
Yeah. So so you're giving me less than half the page count of an issue in the back of a book I don't even like, and you're making me pay more for it. Fucking Donny Cates' book just came out this week, Vanish. I paid $2.30 for that with my Comixology discount.
Let's go.
And wasn't that an extended comic?
I think it might have been.
Oversized.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
40 something. Yeah.
Yep.
$2.30.
It's a problem that DC has to. They have to fix it.
Yeah.
I genuinely, like, if people are complaining about buying books, like, take the price down. Like, to me, like, that's genuinely, that stops me.
Yeah.
You have to consider the budget that you have available for comics on a weekly basis. Like I'm only picking up the books now that I know for sure I want to read or we're doing for the show. Otherwise, I've been trying less and less number ones because I have to pay for these other books now.
And a higher price point for essentially the same thing you would have been getting, without the backup or whatever. Like, come on.
Exactly.
It's a ploy.
Yep.
That is going to be where we leave the conversation on the future of DC. Sound off. Let us know your thoughts. Obviously, DC has a big chance to win over a lot of fans. They have a big chance to really set themselves up beautifully for the future. But it might be their last chance. It might be the last chance with me. Who knows? We'll see. Share your thoughts with us in all the places. Twitch.tv/The Comics Pals. Thank you, Kefis. Appreciate that. Twitch.tv/The Comics Pals every single Saturday at 10:15 a.m. This upcoming Saturday, we will be interviewing none other than Geoff Johns, so make sure that you come and show out for that. Pals Pulls at 6 p.m. Eastern every single Thursday. YouTube.com/The Comics Pals. Subscribe for free. Like the video, share it with your friends. Patreon.com/The Comics Pals. You can subscribe over there, not quite for free, but for as little as $3 a month, you can get some awesome content on our part, including the newsletter. We've got a exclusive show over there. We have a lot of cool stuff happening, so go ahead and check that out. Let's do the plugs. Kale.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Comics Pals. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TotoInTow. That's TOTOINTOW. You can find my work at kaleward.com. That's CALEWARD.com.
Marco. Oh, sorry. Did you have anything, Kale?
No, that's it. That's it. That's all.
Marco.
I was hoping you can vamp while this plane flies over, but you can follow me at Mr. Marco Enomoto on Instagram and Twitter. Come talk to me about. I've been watching Girls on HBO. I finished Full Metal Alchemist, and I decided I need some live action series, so I've been watching that. It's been pretty good. Adam Driver, pretty good job. And I need anime recommendations next. I'm thinking some kind of Gundam. So if you have an idea or you think I should watch something that's really, really hot right now, please let me know.
The single life.
Yeah, right. Do you know about G Gundam?
Yes. I think, have I seen that before?
I feel like I remember it being a tournament style anime, but with Gundam.
Mobile Fighter G. Yes, I remember this.
I watched it on Toonami back in the day.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll add it to the list. It's right there.
That sounds cool as shit. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram only at Sean Soapbox. I am all in this week on Geoff Johns, so I'll be reading a lot of Geoff Johns stuff. We've got the Blackest Night book club that we're going to be pushing out soon. That should be coming out actually
7th?
The 4th of October. So I'll be reading that here real soon, and obviously preparing for the interview. So I'm locked in on that. Hit me up to talk about your love for Geoff Johns. Thank you guys so much for listening. For Kale and Marco, I'm Sean, saying we're the Comics Pals signing out. Until next time, take care, guys.
See you next week.